What's up, guys? Ash here coming at you today with iFerg. Ferg is an OG in the FPS and even before that in the kind of Supercell mobile gaming content creator ecosystem. This dude is amazing. One of my favorite chats to date here on the Untold series on the channel. We talk about Mr. Beast and Jacksepticeye kind of drama, get his take on that, Ferg's take. We talk about him facing Dr. Disrespect. We talk about him dropping out of school to become a content creator, the landscape and Mount Rushmore of mobile FPS, and much, much more. Stay tuned. Actually, let's just jump into it. Welcome, Ferg. So here we are with Ferg. iFerg. What's up, Ferg? Thanks for joining me,
everyone.
man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ash?
I am amazing, bro, and I'm so excited for this chat because we're just talking a little bit off mic, right? Is like we've known each other for 7 years, I would say, in the scene around that.
Yeah.
And we actually, I was talking about this in my previous interviews as well, is like I use this now, this format, this like kind of podcasty format to actually catch up with like old friends in the scene. And you are, a lot of people might not realize this, but you're an OG Clash creator, man. You got started in Clash Royale even before like the very early FPS days, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But dude, I want to just jump right into it here, man. For those of you who don't know, iFerg, almost 3 million subscribers, one of the biggest FPS mobile creators. You have an incredible story on so many levels. We're going to talk about so much, but I wanted to talk on a personal note, man. I saw a clip that you probably recorded like 4 years ago on stream, right? And talking about your origin story, right? About how you dropped out of high school to be a content creator. Now I'm just gonna go deep with you right out the gate, bro. And you were talking about how you used to skip school, go to this old abandoned house, I guess, or factory or a garage, right? And then there was this swing there, and you would just chill on this swing and just basically walk around and play games instead of skipping school. And no one really knew about it until you were streaming or whatever, and people were watching you from school, right? Is that correct me if I'm wrong, but is that kind of so? And then eventually, once they were watching you actually in class, right? You were just like, okay, dude, I'm going in. I'm going full time. I'm making this decision.
Because like when people start watching your YouTube channel and you're still in school and you're not big, like that's embarrassing. Like I felt embarrassed. So at that point, I was like, I'm never going to school again. I think I was maybe 17 or 18 at the time. I was like my last year in school. And I just never entered that building one more time and just decided to keep going to that house every day. And then when my parents had left, I just waited to see their car drive down the road, bounced out of the house in the forest of the house and walked right into my parents' home. And then I just started streaming every single day instead and also making YouTube videos.
And I'm assuming, suffice it to say, no regrets.
Oh, no. No way. The only regret I have is that I didn't do it sooner. Like there was always a lot of pushback from my parents to like do gaming. And they just didn't kind of understand it because that was still at the point where YouTube was not as big as it is. This was like pre-Fortnite era. So before Fortnite, it was still seen as like this doesn't really exist, and then Fortnite kind of changed the game for the mainstream. But I couldn't explain it to them, and I just had to keep pushing at it.
Eventually, you had to go home and be like, "Okay, Mom, I dropped out of school and I'm a mobile gamer or whatever. I'm a creator, you know." So. I know that you said in the video that you actually went home with it. You strategically went home with a paycheck, with your first check. Do you remember how much it was? And was she like irate or was she like, okay, wow, good for you?
It was around 3,000. I think it was like 3,233 pounds, which is like maybe $5,000. And I just brought her into the room and I was like, I haven't been to school in like 3 months, but this is what I made last month. And I'm just going to keep doing this. And she was shocked and like walked out of the room and then came back. And then she looked at the number again. And that was a lot of money to my mom for like, I think I was 18 for me to be making. So she just put her hands up and said, sure, whatever.
Well, you brought up a great point because I think that the next natural question here is like, okay, so do you advise other kids that age to drop out of school and go make content? But instead of asking that, I actually want to bring up a point that you had. Again, I'm going off something that was 4 years ago, a little clip that I found, but you brought up a great point, man. And it was that everybody that was telling you how to live life, how to make their decisions, especially regarding their career, their work, their their job, everybody that was giving you advice hated their job, hated their careers, hated their lives. So, now looking back, now it's been, 7 years or whatever since this has happened to you.
Yeah.
Has your perspective changed? How do you look back at that decision? Obviously, you don't regret it in your personal case, but, to maybe expand a little bit on that. Do you still feel the same way about like people giving you advice? And I guess kind of in a broader conversation, just trying to be like, think about who's giving you advice and how they feel and what they're doing,
Yeah. Well, I have a common rule, and it's just don't take advice from anybody who is not where you want to be or where you're trying to get to about that topic that you're seeking advice from.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go to a fireman and ask them how to teach a student how to play guitar. So like, I'm not going to go to a holiday booker and say, how do I start a YouTube channel? I'm not going to go to my parents and say, how do I invest in the stock market? Because they don't do it. Like, I only seek advice now from people who I'm trying to be like or be on the same level as. So for example, if I'm learning about business, I'll go to Alex Hormozy. He's like an up and coming, well, I say up and coming like he's not making $100 million a year, but I watch like all of his videos to do with business, but I'm not going to go to somebody else who has never started a business and has no expertise or legacy in the field for advice on the same stuff that I get from Alex Hormozy. And I've just carried that on throughout life. The only advice I would take from people who are maybe not in a similar position of where I want to be is if they're telling me something negative that they've done and steering me away from that. Not what they have done and saying, like, steering me towards a good goal, if that makes sense.
No, I think it's great advice. You don't hear, I mean, it sounds kind of common sense, right? But you don't hear many people give that advice. Like, it's almost like, dude, just listen to people, like, listen to conventional wisdom. It seems to be like the status quo. And I think that's great advice, man. Like, and I think that you hit the nail on the head regarding, experts in fields or in a certain area, not one person can know everything about everything. So you kind of made the strategic decision. Was there any indicators other than just like picking up steam and momentum in the early days? Like, was that during Rules of Survival that you decided to go full time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been Rules of Survival. And that's like another thing is it was very risky back then for me to do this. It felt like I was putting my whole life in the line. But at the same time, you're not going to make anything of yourself unless you take that massive risk and that massive jump into the future. And that's just what I decided to do. I really didn't have anything. I didn't have any money to my name. I knew that I could get away with staying off school because my parents both worked full-time jobs outside of the house. Like, there was no work from home, remote work kind of situation.
Yeah. You just had you had the path in front of you and you took it.
Oh, I had it all plotted out. Like, I would come back home from school come back home from the forest, say to my parents, I was at school. I would go upstairs, change into an outfit that wasn't my school uniform, because over here in the UK, we have to wear school uniforms. So I'd change out into like normal clothes, and then I would check the clock timer. And as soon as I think it was 10 to 5, I would rush upstairs, put my school uniform on again, make it look all like dragged out and super worn and tired.
Dude. How long did you run this charade? How long did you?
It must have been like 4 months, maybe. I was doing that every day.
That is wild. And then what are your old friends, or like, do you talk to anybody back from school now, or what do they think about everything? Like, how do they see the rise of Ferg?
Well, it was weird because there's a lot of these backstories and they're like, oh, I was bullied in school, like it sucked. I was not like that. Like, I was really popular in school, like friends with everyone, friends with the teachers. They all knew what was going on, but they didn't ring my parents to tell them, but I let them know what I was doing. But usually you would get a call home saying like, your child is not coming into school. But they were they just let me do whatever I wanted. And my friends from school, who I'm still friends with today, like, we're still great friends. And they unfortunately have moved to different towns and stuff nowadays. So it's difficult to connect, but I'm sure you can relate. They come back maybe once or twice a year. And at the start, they were kind of questionable, but I'd say as soon as I reached like maybe 30,000 subscribers, everyone was like, okay, like, it seems respectable. And then I hit 50,000, and that was when the school year finished. And even though I wasn't at school anymore, like, I completely quit. They put my like channel as an accomplishment for like the year of this year's high school is like,
oh my God,
iFerg reached 50,000 subscribers. But well, at least that's what everyone told me, because I never got a yearbook because I didn't finish the school
dude,
year.
you left school and they featured you in the yearbook.
Yeah, man, I loved school. Like everything about school was great, other than the subjects that I was learning about, which is what school's all about. But interpersonal relationships and just knowing how life works throughout school was just such a huge positive to how I approached YouTube in general.
Dude, I love that story, man, and it's crazy that I mean, I wonder if schools in the next decade, I wonder if they're already doing it, will teach content creation. Because like, I feel like if you go ask kids or teenagers or whatever, I feel like a decent amount of them are going to say they want to be a content creator, and it's obviously a lot of hard work. And you know, I'm certainly not going to say anything like taking credit or patting myself on the back, but dude, from the early days, I mean, you are probably front and center in terms of a creator that I would look at back in the day and think that, yeah, they're going to blow up. They are going to blow up. And it was during the early days. It wasn't during Clash that, like, I knew you during Clash. We're watching a little old Clash Royale content in the background right now. A little young Ferg right now.
Yes, sir.
You even had a roast Clash with Ash video that I saw in my research, which is great. But yeah, so I didn't know like necessarily in the Clash days, but I knew in the very early days of Rules of Survival, right? Where I remember I used to come and watch your streams, and you had maybe, I don't know, maybe like a few hundred viewers or so. And in the early days, and dude, it was just this awesome mix of stellar gameplay and skills. Almost like, especially me not being like an avid FPS player, almost like you were cheating. Not that you were, but like, dude, how is this guy doing this, you know? And charisma. But it was really the charisma and the personality that carried, especially for a viewer like me, who, like, I'm sure I don't have the appreciation for all the stuff that you're doing in game, you know. But I remember talking to Lance, one of my friends, Powerbang at the creator, and I remember we were both like, dude, this guy is going to be the biggest mobile creator in the world. Like, I remember saying that, having that conversation, and then it became true, you know. So I want to ask, you know, in those early days, when was it that you believed in yourself, or was it all along? You seemed like a confident fella, you know? When did you know that, like, I have something special here?
Well, I always felt in my head that I knew I could do it, specifically in gaming, because I think that was around 2018. So if we reverse 5 years back, I was #1 on the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 leaderboards, or like the competitive ranked playlist, when I was like 13. So I always knew I could be at the top of like FPS shooters, but my parents took away my Xbox and all of like any equipment that I had, which is why I switched to mobile in the first place.
Wow.
So I could never fulfill that like destiny per se. And if I'd went down that path, maybe I would have been like a Fortnite YouTuber now or something. But for the most recent like turn of events, which was 5 years or 6 years ago, 2018, close to 6, it was really just, I think I got a bunch of donations. It was like the $5,000 in donations in one stream, because I just told people that, like, I have no money. Like, I'm a broke high school dropout. I have no money. And they were like, why is your stream such bad quality? And back then, what I would do was, like, I would use my my mom's old Mac. It was from 2011, I think. And I would upscale the resolution. So it was actually 360p, but I would make it so when you go into YouTube, you could click 720p. So like people would not go crazy. I was like, no, don't worry. Like,
look, guys,
just go 720p. Don't worry, it's not 360. Like, you can do it. And that was the day everyone donated to me. It was absolutely absurd. I don't think I've had a day of donations in my life like that since then. I think it was 4,500, 5,000. And that was the check that I then showed to my mom and said, like, look what I got from Google this month. Like, I got money. Like, I'm doing it. But there was a lot of ups and downs, like, since then. It's particularly in the Rules of Survival area. Obviously, once COD Mobile released, it was like a snap of the finger, and I was just put up to the stratosphere, because the start of that game went so mainstream, and I was really the only one who thoroughly believed in it. And it also fit my history of, like I said, I was #1 in the Black Ops 2 leaderboards, and I was really the only person who had the history of playing it on console and being at the top of the leaderboards then, who could translate it into doing it on the mobile platform, which is exactly why I was sitting like jotting down, like, I'm gonna get 1 million subscribers off this game. I'm gonna have 3 channels with 100K. Like, I was so pumped. So that Rules of Survival and COD Mobile first day, honestly, I would say, is when two moments where I realized, okay, we're going up a notch, I'm full time, and then COD Mobile releases, and I'm like, oh, I'm like going big time compared to what I was
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah, dude. And then there's no looking back from there. You
Yeah.
mentioned the 3 channels. I think that's a good point because in my recollection, you were one of the first, at least in our little circle, mobile creators, you were one of the first that really pushed the envelope regarding like the way that you put out your content, distribute your content. Like you were one of the first that I recall, if not the first, to have separate channels for like your live content and your VOD content and stuff like that. Talk about like risk taking in general, I guess, as it applies to content as well. How do you feel about that looking back? Obviously, it worked out for you. What made you kind of innovate in those ways?
Well, the biggest risk in life is just not taking any risks. So if you use that as your back burner, you'll just risk everything all the time. And that's still what I kind of do. And nowadays I would look more for inspiration through Mr. Beast with how much he spends like on his content. I kind of go under a similar thesis where like, I want to continue to risk everything, whether it's like making different channels for live streaming or a entirely different game, which will be coming very soon. Depending on, I can say about it, depending on when this podcast uploads, maybe in like the next week or so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, be on the safe side. I think within a few days I tried it, but anyway, yeah.
As for the actual multi-channel thing, I didn't view that as like a heavy risk. It was more so just, I realized that if I didn't live stream on the same channel, and I upload a video, it would just get more traffic because people would get notifications on it. And there was just some glitch back then where if you live streamed and uploaded at the same time, so say I was live streaming and then I uploaded, no notifications would go out because I'm already live on the channel. So I just was like, hey guys, I did it before COD Mobile launched too. I knew it was going to happen. I knew COD Mobile was going to be a big game. I like trusted it full force. So I made the channel before. And that live channel was actually my old second channel for PUBG Mobile, which I wished I stuck with. I wish so badly that I stuck with PUBG Mobile.
Why? Why?
Well, it goes
just
back
because of
to
how huge it was, or
it goes back to even Rules of Survival days because I was already gaining traction in Rules of Survival. And then they released PUBG Mobile, and I was like, I'm fine. Like I'm comfortable with Rules of Survival. But if I had just switched to PUBG Mobile, like I would be so massive in that scene because I would have been one of the early adopters. Like, I was already a mobile battle royale at that stage. I should have just like bit the bullet and took the risk and dropped my views down temporarily for that massive gain, which was like, I still can't believe how big PUBG Mobile got, and how I viewed it back then was like, like this is PUBG on mobile. We don't need PUBG Mobile. You know what I mean? Like that was my view on it.
It's another risk that you wish you had taken at the time. Like, looking back too. That
100%.
Is that you? Do you aspire to basically be like long term a variety FPS, a variety shooter creator?
Yeah.
Just cover any game you want.
Just straight up, my end goal is to have like 4, maybe I don't even know how many channels. It could be 4 or 5 channels that just have dedicated, exclusive partnership or ambassadorship programs with. So like any games at all. And I feel like the team that I built right now, there's about, I think we just went up to 18 this month. We hired 2 more short form editors this month.
Oh wow!
But
18? Did you say?
Yeah. And I think 10 of those are just long form video editors, and then obviously we have managers. And
oh my god, dude! I had no idea. I had no idea. That is impressive, man.
Yeah. So anytime I get a deal in, like I just got for a game that I like, now it has to be a mobile FPS. Like I'm not just gonna go and create a channel because they offered me a deal. Like I just love FPS games, so I will like. It needs to be an FPS, and it needs to be like skill based. Like it can't be just bots. You know what I mean? It needs to have some sort of fire in me to say, oh, I can be like the best or one of the best at this game and create really good content around it. That's like my pinnacle end goal for this like mobile gaming side of things.
So when you pick up a brand new FPS game, is your skill level, like, is it innate? It basically, at this point, are you able to pick up a new game like Rainbow Six Mobile or whatever, like a game like that's a little bit different than your typical? Do you have confidence in just picking it up and just dominating out the gate if you put enough time into it? How do you look at it from that point of view?
Though, like Rainbow Six and Arena Breakout are 2 FPSs that are very different just by the way you move around the map. The ones that I'm usually super good at are the ones where you can use movement to your advantage and aim. But like AB and Rainbow Six are a lot to do with like abilities and game knowledge, and that's where I really need to like raise the bar. So, for example, last year I played Apex Legends Mobile, and I had never played Apex Legends on PC. I'd never even watched a video of it. I had no expertise in that game whatsoever. So what I just did was I went undercover and played in a lot of the scrims and time drops that were going on in that game in the beta, and just tried to learn as much as I could as possible, which is exactly the same strategy that I will use in every game that comes out. Like, I'll always play every FPS. It's just a matter of, will I upload it or will I partner with them? Like, every FPS that drops, I play it. I just do not post about it. So yeah, I play like Arena Breakout. I've touched Rainbow Six Siege here and there. I haven't posted any Rainbow yet. I've posted a couple AB videos so far.
What do you think about Arena Breakout? What do you think about it?
I like it, but it is so different that I think a lot of people will find it hard to get into. But once you pass the like tutorial and you get into like real ranked, it's so sweaty, and it's sweaty to a degree where like you could play for 20 minutes, and obviously if you don't extract, you get 0 of your loot. So you can go in there 20 minutes and then you just get one tapped across the map, and that's game over. You lose absolutely everything you came in with. You lose everything that you picked up from the start of the game. And that particular part of the game is the most infuriating thing I've ever had to deal with as an FPS shooter player. It's so hard.
I bet, the adjustments. But having that team behind you, though, I imagine that gives you the luxury of actually being able to dedicate to learn these games. Like, otherwise, it would be impossible to do. How do you advice to like smaller creators or aspiring creators? Dude, how do you, I'm sure a lot of people like listening to this, especially creators, are like, dude, I have like one person barely or none. How did you go about building a team that big? And any tips out there to like how to go from being a solo creator who just wants to make it on YouTube or Twitch or whatever to actually building kind of a team around you?
Yeah. Well, what I did was, so back when COD Mobile launched, I knew I needed an editor because I was editing 2 videos a day and streaming 12 to 16 hours a day because I had to maintain #1 on the leaderboards, because that was like my huge thing. Like my whole my whole ethos was I need to be as hyped and as entertaining as Ninja and as like renowned as the GOAT on a mobile FPS as Shroud. Remember, this is back when Fortnite was huge, and Shroud was still like the top dog of the mobile FPS. So those are the 2 guys I based it off. So I knew I needed an editor so that I could play more. So I hired a guy called Heartless, and he's actually still with me to this day. So if you go back and watch videos from November 2019, he is one of the editors that still edit to me to this day, and he has developed so much as an editor. It is absolutely insane.
That's wild.
He's definitely my right-hand man when it comes to long-form video editing. So I held off in picking up anyone, and then I got into a lot of like Mr. Beast podcasts here and there. He started doing podcasts so I could listen to him, and bro, I just sit there. I've rewatched a few of them now. If you know who Colin and Samir are,
I've rewatched, of course,
like those ones,
great stuff,
maybe 3-4 times now. And he always preached about just invest in people, invest in expansion of your brand on YouTube on your YouTube. And I was like, you know what? I just need to take it. This guy's above me in the totem pole. Like, these are the people I need to take my advice from. And everyone around me always would say, like, no, play it safe. Like, just keep your money safe. Like, what am I saving for? Like, I want to get to the top.
This is it, man.
Yeah, if I save the money, I'm never going to get anywhere. Everyone's like, no, play it safe. It's always the play it safers that I feel like are stagnant in any game that they play, any game they partake in, because that's how I view life.
It's so true, right? It's so true. And then they get unhappy as well. You got to take the chances. You have to take the chances eventually, and it's not going to pay off immediately either. And you've been such a grinder as well. But I think that's good advice. So you basically found one person that you trusted, developed a relationship, and kind of grew from that core. It sounds like.
Yeah. And then over time, I would bring in more and more people. Cool. And it grew exponentially this last year because obviously there's a lot of mobile titles coming up, and I wanted to be prepared for them to release. So like Arena Breakout took me by storm. So did Rainbow Six Siege, to be honest. I thought they were going to do a lot more tests before they put it into this open beta. And then we obviously have Warzone Mobile is like around the corner. We'll see if that happens. I honestly, I don't even have any insider information for that whatsoever because they do not tell me anything. And if we're being honest between me, you, and the audience, I'm not even partnered with COD Mobile right now at all. Like, I have no affiliation with them whatsoever.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Noted.
Warzone Mobile, like, when it launches, we will obviously ramp things back up again with them. And I love the Call of Duty Mobile franchise, or Call of Duty on mobile, as they now tell me to say, because if I'm streaming, like, a partnered COD Mobile stream back in the day. They're like, don't mention Warzone Mobile, just say Call of Duty on
mobile.
Yeah. I was like, all right.
So you have a good relationship with the people at Activision or whatever, the COD team? Cool.
Yeah, they've treated me greatly over the past few years, and I look forward to the release of Warzone. Not only that, but we also have Valorant Mobile now, which I think is going to be massive. Like, I think that has the potential to really be the biggest mobile FPS of all time, like taking players from like Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, and Call of Duty Mobile, anything. It really depends on how optimized it is. But they have the luxury of you not having to have a whole BR map optimized, just one map every like 15 game rounds or whatever it is to complete like a Valorant match. So they could take over by far. Sorry,
I'm looking forward to that. That might be my foray, not as a creator, but just as a player into the genre. I lose track, bro, because all of your guys in the community, man, like Sanho and Imo and Bobby, I could just keep going on, and Hawk's Nest. Like, I feel like these guys are tweeting out about a new game every other day at FPS. Yes. I'm like, okay, wait, is this the one that's going to be like? No. So now I've lost all faith, not in them, but in like I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm just gonna wait and see approach. You know.
Yeah, well, all of my main channel eggs are in one basket with Warzone Mobile. I feel like if they optimized it, it will be great. I just can't give like a Ferg guarantee. Like I always say this. I'm giving you a Fergie guarantee. I'm going to get this done. Like every time there's a new weapon in COD Mobile, I'm like, Ferg guarantee, I'm going to get #1 with it. And I just can't do it for Warzone Mobile right now because of how poorly optimized it is. If they can fix that, I'll say like it will be a banging game. But until that's done and finished, I just can't say.
It sounds like no fur guarantee, but it sounds like you're pretty optimistic though.
I'm optimistic. Cool, sure.
You mentioned Mr. Beast a few times.
Love him.
I'm a big fan. I gotta ask. First of all, your countrymen, Jacksepticeye, right? They had the big drama. Not really. They squashed things within a day or whatever. But of course, the internet, everybody's talking about it, and everybody has their 2 cents. I had to ask you about it because I actually saw you engaging with Ethan Klein from H3 Podcast and on X, and he had like a pretty big statement about it. You also replied that this is by far the best take you've ever made. Nothing but facts. Basically, to catch everybody up in case you're not aware, let's just take a moment here and play the actual clip here.
Now, Jack, a completely unrelated question. Do you like Mr. Beast? No. Jack, do you think Mr. Beast ruined YouTube? Yes. Now, in all honesty, Jack, why? Because it became more about views, money, and popularity than it did about having fun.
All right, so do you like Mr. Beast? No. Do you think it ruined YouTube? Yes. Why? Because it became about views and not having fun, basically, in a nutshell. Yeah. So I actually want to, before we get to like Ethan's comment and why you agreed to it, I wanted to ask, as somebody who obviously looks up to Mr. Beast and looked at him for inspiration, I wanted to ask, in terms of Jacksepticeye, first of all, like my take on it is like, I think that I like when people share unpopular opinions, like in generally speaking, you know, like I'm a fan, not of the drama, but of the conversation, you know, and that's kind of how I want to approach this with you. And I think that Jack is a great creator. Like I've only had a few encounters with him personally, but he's always been great and cool and loving to everybody, whatever. So is there any truth? Obviously you agree, you love Mr. Beast. Is there any truth to what Jack is saying in terms of, I mean, I feel like almost every creator has moved in that direction of being inspired by Mr. Beast, basically optimizing every second of every video. And changing the landscape of YouTube. And it might not be Mr. Beast, and it might not be for the worst. It might be for the better, right? But is there something to what he's saying? Can you resonate with where Jacksepticeye is coming from in his commentary?
Yeah. I agree slightly to his point in the way that he said Mr. Beast doesn't do it for fun the way Jack did it. Like the way when Jack was coming up on YouTube, you sat down for 20 minutes and you recorded a Let's Play. You didn't even edit it, and that was it. And it was just free views, free money, free everything. It was easy. But then Mr. Beast came in and he completely gamified it. So he was like, we need to make this way, and it needs to be, the audience retention needs to hit like 61.28%. Like it has to do this for us to get this many views. So we need to find a way to basically, I don't want to say trick but basically make the viewer not realize that the Mr. Beast's intention is to just hook them for as long as possible. It's just the same as social media apps. They want you on the app for as long as possible. Yep. That's what Mr. Beast gamified, and that's what everyone is trying to do in this landscape. In my opinion, it would probably actually started before Mr. Beast, back when Logan Paul was doing those like big, massive vlogs every single day. Because before Logan Paul did those big, massive, like, I filled my bath with Orbeez, I filled my house with Orbeez, those kind of videos.
Yep.
Those were like sprinkled between those daily normal vlogs. And once Casey Neistat did his like vlog series, Logan Paul adapted that and just made it this hyper huge event. And then Mr. Beast took him up one more and basically added all of Logan Paul's vlogs into one video, and then did like one video a month of just this insane like piece of content. Yeah. And that really ruined the entire landscape for anyone that was not willing to put in the work. Like anyone that was not willing to put an ounce of effort into their content, people would click on their video and think, oh, this isn't as good as that person, or this isn't as good as the other guy I watched that's making similar content. So why would I watch you anymore? And then you've seen that massive luring of views for those OG vets in the game, which is kind of sad because, again, going back to what he said, like it did slightly ruin it, and it isn't as just, oh, this is a fun little thing that I can do sometime during my day. It really changed it into a career and like a job-centric thing as opposed to like a passion project. Yeah. But you can be passionate about creating content and be proud of your work. Like make your videos a work of art instead of just sitting down and only recording for 20 minutes and just uploading it. It's just a whole different thesis or theory of constructing a video and making it an actual product. Like it's just so vastly different to what it was 10 years ago when Jacksepticeye was arguably on top of the landscape as compared to it today. And I still like Mr. Beast's version of YouTube as opposed to the past era. Because if you go back and watch those videos, you're like, holy crap, this is boring. Like, this is actually boring content.
You know what it's comparable to is somebody who is old as yours truly. Not that I was around in like the early days of television, but it's almost like the early days of television. You go watch something like super old, right, on TV, and you're like, wow, this is very, very dry, like beyond, and it's very tough to hold your attention to it. Obviously, nowadays, everything's ultra optimized. So I could take, both sides, devil's advocate. You could look at that and be like, okay, man, like, it's sad in a way because there is an audience and there is something very fun in long form, unedited content. There's something authentic there that I feel like is missing. It does exist. Podcast. And Jacksepticeye, like he still gets millions of views on 2-hour videos almost daily. So it's not like he's not being successful at all. So, a little bit of devil's advocate, but at the same time, the innovation is part of media in general, right? Like that's it's always happening before YouTube. It's still going to happen after YouTube. And Ethan's comment was essentially, without reading the whole thing verbatim, he said like, the only difference between now and then is Jimmy has absolutely dominated the space in a way nobody has ever before, making content that nobody has ever made before. Mm-hmm. Maybe the first time in YouTube where the number one person is making the best content. Also, and this is the strongest point I feel like he made, in my opinion, is rising tides lift all boats. He is doing more for the platform and legitimizing YouTubers than anyone before. Dude, 100%. Like that's the biggest point for me is because when I started, man, I mean, heck, not when I started, Ferg. When I've told this story before, but when I had my kid 6 years ago, the nurse at the ER was like,
I heard this story on your podcast.
Like career of the father. And I'm like, yes, sir. I have to say YouTuber and they're going to think I'm unemployed in my mom's basement or something, but nowadays I don't think I would feel that stigma as much. I'd probably still, because I'm self-conscious, I'd probably still think about it. But back then I'm like, YouTube, I like actually said the truth. I should have just said like whatever, the entertainer or something, but I said the truth. And I could see that look in the nurse's eyes like, okay, dude, okay, he's a YouTuber in his 30s, awesome. So anyway, I believe so wholeheartedly that not just, I mean, in our industry too, you being, a part of the ownership of Tribe, I have AMG, two of the bigger kind of North American brands in this vertical, right? We see it from the business side of things as well, right? Like, people are very interested. Even non-gaming brands and businesses are so interested now in YouTube, in gaming, in content creators, and working with them. They see that they can get more views, more impressions, and valuable impressions than the Super Bowl for 1/100th of the amount, you know, of the money, you know, of the cost.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's thanks to Mr. Beast, you know. So that's what resonated the most with me. What about you on Ethan's response?
Well, first off, I never watched Ethan Klein, like, ever. To be honest, I haven't seen much about him since he did, like, the Vape Nation thing back in the day.
I don't watch him either. I just know from, like, I watch, like, Phil DeFranco sometimes, and he reports on a lot of what Ethan says, so that I gotta kind of get it through there. But yeah.
But his take on it was great, because even when I think back to when PewDiePie reigned YouTube, which, in my eyes, PewDiePie's era was the 2010s, and towards the tail end, it was really like there wasn't much of him except for Mr. Beast hyping him up against T-Series. Like, that was the last thing I really remember of PewDiePie. But even when he was on top in terms of subs, there were other people creating way better videos than him. But the YouTube search engine and also how you were recommended content was just so AVD skewed, and he was uploading those like 30-minute, 40-minute Let's Plays, which people would sit down and consume like a TV show. So in his era, that was great, but it just, you look back on it and it's just not the best. And I know Ethan Klein said that Mr. Beast is the best. I feel like nowadays it's a very subjective take to say who is the best, because there's so many creators now to fill each and every niche that you want. So some creators' best creator will not be anywhere close to another creator's best creator. And that actually makes me, I want to talk about this, is that Mr. Beast in general got a lot of flack from like YouTube gurus and even me myself for making videos that once you finish watching, you don't think about it ever again in your life, outside of saying to your friend, Mr. Beast just bought a billion-dollar yacht. Did you see that? Like, outside of that, you have no emotional connection with it. I don't know if you've seen the movie Oppenheimer, but when you walk out of a movie like that, you're like, whoa, that was crazy.
Yeah, and it stays with you. Yeah,
exactly. He was losing a lot of that up until he did the video where it was age 1 to 100 had to battle it out to like stay in their little box for a long period of time, and he started to show like the entire process and journey of a couple of characters in that video. That's what I call like the people in the videos. I call them characters because it's like a show to me. So it's the theme in my videos. Like, I call myself Ken, Sonho, Kaiser. Like, I call everyone characters. Like, we want character development, stuff like that. And it wasn't until that point. It wasn't until that point where I would have certified him as the GOAT or like the best. But once he started filling in that emotional connection between the audience and the characters in his show, I was like, okay, he did this. He's the GOAT. Like, he was able to do that after so many years, and he took so much flack, like, because I'm in that sphere of like X and YouTube and the gurus. Like, I follow everyone in there, and they were all giving him so much trash talk, and then he did it, executed it so well, and is still learning. That is like GOAT status. Somebody who is able to take the heat and come out with a solution that everyone is appreciative of. I think that deserves respect. And when he did that, he was certified the best.
100%, man. I'm not even I almost feel embarrassed to say this, but I'm not even like a regular Mr. Beast viewer. Of course, I've seen his videos and his content, but I still have so much respect for, you know, everything that you say, how I say optimize, it sounds like such a dirty word. I don't mean it in that way. I don't mean it in that way, but like how he really brought good storytelling that fit YouTube and fit the audience, right? And to your point, and I think that I just think I think he's amazing, and I think it's a shame. I mean, whatever. I'm really getting on my soapbox here, but I think it's a shame how much hate he gets for everything that he freaking does. But also that's part of being on top. But it's got to get to him, man, because I know that like we're people, man. Everybody's people. I'm not comparing us to Mr. Beast, but I'm saying that like you feel for even big creators with our perspective. I feel like you feel for like heck. I'm embarrassed to say I feel for celebrities sometimes because it's just like, shoot, you know how it's like, you know, like do you have have you developed thick skin? It seems like you let everything kind of brush off. Do you get sensitive at times? Are you like, how have you been mentally over the last 7 years?
Well, there was a time where my ego was super fragile at the start of COD Mobile, where I believed I was the best player in the game. Like, I wholeheartedly believed that I was the best the first 2 months of that game.
Well, you were for a while. I mean, you were number one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I still believe it
Yeah.
to this day. Like I
Gotcha,
was the
gotcha.
best at that in that era.
Yep.
And anytime I would see a comment of people saying, "You're trash, this guy's better than you," like that would hit me
Got
so
you.
hard.
Yep.
But as soon as I relinquished, like, I don't care about being the best in this game anymore. I just want to create the best content on it, which we have done over the past 3 years. It really helped me leave attaching my entire identity to skill. But I would say nowadays, I definitely attach the majority of my identity to the content that I produce, because that is basically how the world views me. So sometimes if somebody hits me in the right place, like in my kidney or my liver, I'm like, it will hurt, but I will not sit and think about it my whole day. I will definitely take some time to process it. It's only the comments that I see that I know are truthful. So if I see somebody commenting something and I'm like, you know what? He's right. And now I feel bad because he's told me exactly what I'm doing wrong and I'm doing nothing to fix it. So I feel bad because of that. But if it's a comment like, you're trash, like this is so bad, I don't care. But if they hit me like, you should have done this better, or maybe you could have improved there, I'll just be like, oh my God, how did I not see that? Like, I'm meant to be the YouTuber. I meant to have this all locked down. This is terrible.
No, I get you.
And then I'll go to my right-hand man. He's called Madnan. And I'll be like, bro, how did we not see this? Like, we should have fixed this. But obviously, for the next video, me and him both stress out so much about this. This is all that goes through our mind. Like, we're on the clock 24/7 when it comes to this stuff. So, like, when it happens, we fix it straight away. And the next video, it's done and dusted. But until we do that, until we fix it, we're freaking out. Like, it's like a girls' locker room in high school where they're all flailing the fraternity. You know what I mean? Like, he talked to me, my crush talked to me. Like, it's like the bad way. Like, my crush hates me.
But that's what it's all about, man. Like, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what, again, it's a microcosm for life, right? Is that you just continue improving things, right? And you hopefully don't make the same mistake again and again. And that's how you optimize there it is with that dirty word again, but that's how you get better at your content, man. That's how you improve in life, you know? I wanted to ask you about, Dr. Disrespect before I let you go. But before I ask you about that, I want to ask you, kind of go back to like life growing up in Ireland, right? Mm-hmm. And I have this picturesque scene again of you in the woods in the middle of the forest and playing, you know, and then your life changed, right? So what was life like before all of this? Like, obviously before everything. And do you think it's this level of fame and money and everything has changed you as an individual?
Yeah, it's funny you asked this, because just before we started, when you messaged me, can we start 15 minutes later? I was like, thank God. Because I was sitting at a car wash and there was just a long line to get your car washed. And it just hit me. So back before YouTube started, me and my friends from school would agree that summer 2013 was the best summer, the best year of our lives. And then I looked around and I was like, wow, that was a decade ago this year. Like, I messaged one of my best friends straight away. I was like, just to let you know, it's officially been over a decade since 2013 summer. And he was like, what? Like, no way. And life just feels like I live a completely, I don't even feel like the same person anymore. And I know like people will say, oh, you changed, like, blah, blah, blah. But that's the whole point of life. Like, of course you change, but it's if you change in the right direction. Like, are you evolving as a better person? And like, I feel like I have done that. So I do feel great, but it is sad to think about. Like, a whole decade's passed already. So I messaged him, but
it keeps getting worse, bro.
Yeah, I bet. Because every year comes, like, the days just keep getting faster, man. It's tough. But my life back then, I lived beside the sea. I live close to the capital of Northern Ireland called Belfast. And it's right on the shore side. So my like summers were just filled up with us jumping into the sea, off the rocks, off cliffs, stuff like that. And we would have cycled from town to town all over the place. And it was really, I hate to be that guy like pumping up his childhood, but I can't think of anything I would have done differently about how I grew up until I started YouTube. I look back at it with fond memories. School was great. Life outside of school was great. Everything was just amazing. I even was able to get, don't do this, kids, and this is highly illegal, but I even got like my alcohol out of my system by the time I was 18, because over here in Ireland, like, it's a big thing to drink all the time. So between the ages of like 13 to 18, I would have drunk a lot. Well, I don't want to say a lot. I wasn't any kind of alcoholic, but like if there was if
Sure.
anyone, if there was
Socially.
a party happening,
yeah, you were there.
I was at it,
yeah,
like I wanted to go or whatever. And then as soon as I started YouTube, I stopped like smoking and drinking. All that stuff was thrown out the window, and it was just straight grind mode. So like, that's how I can view it as that was a different life. And I would always view that as like chapter 1 of the life of Luke Fergie was the tutorial. Like that was the tutorial where I got my skills, personal development. Obviously, you still develop past that stage in your life, and everything. Every time you wake up, you learn more things. But that really is the tutorial of my life. And then I just flung myself straight into the career, and what I would see is like a destiny going forward after that. But I loved my childhood, man. I look back at it with such fond memories.
I do too, man. I think that first off, I love the tutorial analogy, right? And then you're moved into ranked, but that's awesome to hear. First of all, I also love my childhood, man. It wasn't perfect, and I'm sure yours wasn't either. Like I'm sure there were all kinds of stuff that you could focus on, but listen, I'm not going to go and besmirch or look down on anybody who's struggled, because we all have.
Yeah, of
but
course.
But also like focusing on. I feel like having that positive mentality, and I feel like somebody who's so skilled as you and who's so cocky in a lot of ways about your skills, but you also have this level of humility about you and positivity, which I don't know, it's all rolled into one. It's hard to articulate, but I've always respected that about you. You never like, you're cocky, but a lovable cocky, not I freaking hate that dude, And I think that positivity, it sounds like it emanates from you as a kid too,
Oh yeah, for sure. When it comes to the cocky thing, I will say that I also love looking at cocky people. So, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was like the best football player or in line with Messi, he would be like, I'm the best. But he has the credentials to back that up.
Sure.
So when I see that, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I don't care. He might be number 1 or number 2, but he's definitely there. Like, he's on the Mount Rushmore of football greats. So when I am cocky about things, it's because I have backed it up. I will never say I'm the best at a game unless I truly believe I'm the best at that particular game. Like back when Apex Mobile launched, I really thought like I was a top 5 player in the game. When COD Mobile launched, I thought I was like number 1 for a while. And that's the only thing where I'm really cocky about, because it's the amount of time I put into it. I know that if I get up and I play this game 16 hours a day and I'm playing it by myself, I'm learning how to be the best. I know I can be the best at it. Like, who's going to tell me I can't be the best at something? You know what I mean? If I put in the same hours, if not way more, if I'm putting in more reps than everyone else in the world, it would be unrealistic to think that I won't be the best. Like, so if I do that and then I'm not the best, that just it would make me like, why am I even doing this? So I repetitively do that thing every time a new game comes out, because I know I can replicate what I have done before, and I know I can reach the Mount Rushmore of the mobile FPS. When it comes to like content and stuff, I don't like. Would compare myself to Mr. Beast and like try to incorporate as much learnings from him as possible. I wouldn't go around and say like I'm the best creator. You know what I mean? Because I'm not. But when it comes to stuff that I think I am really good at, I will definitely let people know how I feel. And the same things. And when it comes to my insecurities, I'll let people know about them too on stream. Like if it comes to things that I'm bad at, I'll let people know about it. It's just like you said, how you go around telling people.
Yeah. What is do you have a mobile FPS Mount Rushmore, Ferg?
Oh,
I would be a bad interviewer if I didn't ask you. Yeah.
For creators?
Yeah.
I would have to put Panda.
Okay.
Because
inarguable, I feel like,
Yeah, absolutely inarguable. Yeah. I will say that he got a lot of his audience through pretending that he was actually Indian. With his like Indian flag back in the day, which me and Hogsett just laugh about. But like, we would only talk about it because he was doing better than us. You know what I mean? If I was doing the same thing, I wouldn't talk about it. But like, looking back on it now, I'm like, that was the best strat I've ever seen anyone do without doing a face reveal. So definitely Panda, and now he does face reveals, and he is. If you haven't seen his channels, he actually does hundreds of millions on different channels outside of mobile gaming now. It's incredible. So yeah, he's definitely on it for the mobile gaming Mount Rushmore. Mortal from PUBG Mobile is 100% there. Nobrew from Free Fire. I feel like I have to put him there because Free Fire is such a great game.
I like that you're approaching this globally, so globally too. You're not just focusing on your game or your niche or whatever.
Not 100%. Those 3 creators are like Indian and Brazilian audience base, and then I'll throw myself up there because I have the largest United States and Europe audience base. I'll throw myself up there for number 4. But there are people who are bigger than me in different games, but they have the same audience as like Mortal and Panda and Nobrew. So I feel like I'll put myself there just because of the international global factor.
I appreciate the honesty, and I love the selections that you really thought about it. Especially you hit me off guard, but like Panda, it's obviously Mortal Man has been
Mortal
the large Mortal is good. And he started with Clash too, man. He started with Clash back in the day as well.
Bro, I remember seeing his channel when he first started, when he had like 30K on PUBG Mobile. I couldn't believe it the next year I seen it. I was like, wow, this guy's really cool for it.
The quality was very low. And then he, to his credit, became the biggest and the most viewed creator in the world. One of the top. So transitioning into Dr. Disrespect, before I let you go, man. This made like headlines, right? Like this is big news articles everywhere on this thing. I'm just like on a random one right now in the background. But iFerg versus Dr. Disrespect COD Mobile Challenge details. Dr. Disrespect disrespects. It's right in the name, right part of the brand. All mobile creators. I actually want to start by asking you, before we get into the actual like the contest or whatever, the challenge. What do you think of the whole rub between, especially in the FPS community, I think because of the nature of the games and the crossover platform, what do you think about the whole argument or the disrespect generally from the community of console and PC towards mobile? Does it bother you, or is it just like at this point, like who cares? Like how do you feel about it?
I can see where they're coming from, because back when I would have played on console, I would have probably said whatever kind of stuff they're saying, and I only started because my stuff was taken away from me, right? So I was thrown into the sphere. But if I wasn't thrown into it, I would have no reason to test it out. And it's not until you test it out and give it a long time to adjust to the controls and get your feel for the mobile device that you can really appreciate it. So if anyone's disrespecting mobile, I don't really care. In my opinion, I think it's inevitable that mobile will take over in the United States and Europe. It's already taken over in Brazil and India, the 2 largest audiences for like gaming in the world. It's just a matter of time, simply because the way things always go in the world is ease of use, and the easiest thing to use is your phone. All these kids, all these iPad kids are coming up right now playing Roblox on their iPads and their Samsung tablets or whatever Android tablet they may have, and they are just not even going straight into console. I feel like console is going to be slowly drained out of the entire ecosystem,
and it will just be PC. Everything backs that up too. I mean, like some people don't want to hear it. And again, I'm not a mobile evangelist. Like, have fun doing whatever the heck you want to do. Like, it's just the facts is that every year it gets more. I mean, I want to say that there's something like, in terms of whether it's sales is the metric that you're looking at, whether it's just players, everything just continues to grow and grow and grow. At last I checked, it was like 65-35 or something in favor of mobile in terms of just players out there. Okay, so doesn't really bother you that much. You can understand whatever. But Dr. Disrespect, he was disrespected. This is years ago, but I want to get your like kind of behind the scenes take. He was disrespecting COD Mobile, COD players. He had some tongue-in-cheek tweets out there and stuff like that. And you called him out finally, and you're just like, bro, I have it right here, right? You're like 1v1 on COD Mobile, $100,000. You play on your PC, and I'll play mobile. And the thing is he ignored the heck out of you, right? Like he never responded, never acknowledged, and you were almost ratioing him with these like whatever comebacks or whatever challenges rather. And finally, your viewers, dude, they were spamming the hell out of his live streams. He couldn't stream without your viewers going in there and just spamming Ferg. And he got pissed off. He was like, he put it on subscriber only or all this stuff, right?
Member only.
Member only. Yeah, it was like he was pissed. And finally he agreed to face you. Take it from there. Tell anything behind the scenes. Like, was there anything coordinated? I don't mean scripted, but was there anything like coordinated behind the scenes? Like, was there a marketing vehicle behind this, such as like a YouTube boxing match or something, you know?
Yeah, well, basically, I just called him out. That was just random off. After it became like bigger than what I kind of anticipated it for. And then we talked to Activision about it, and we asked, is there something we can make work here to get Dr. Disrespect on the game? and they actually ended up fulfilling that for us. We never put any money on the line, which was a real shame because obviously I would have won it. Like by a long, like even on PC, I still beat him. So we played on mobile and PC, and I beat him in both. And I don't even play PC games anymore. But the reason why I was so eager to call him out is because being a long-time viewer of FPS creators and obviously an FPS player myself, I can tell when I watch him that he's not a top-tier talent in terms of skill on any of the games that he plays. But he is definitely a top-tier creator. His whole brand just exudes premium and greatness. And I love that about him. He was one of the people that I would look at when it came to live streaming. I said earlier about Ninja and Shroud, about video creation, and also just like overall brand. But he would be the guy that I looked at for streaming. And I've said it in the past, like years before all this blew up, that I love Dr. Disrespect, like he's the best, all this stuff. And luckily nobody brought up those clips to like ratio me or anything back then, but I'm sure you could find him.
Right.
I'm sure you can find him. I have the utmost respect for Dr. Disrespect, but obviously just what he said about that was just, come on, like, you being serious, bro?
Yep.
Either way, we got it done. And unfortunately that day, my PC crashed like
I know
3 or 4
like 15
times,
minutes, you were gone. And he just played through.
Yeah, exactly. I had to keep
still
going.
beat him.
I just kept clicking restream. Honestly, it was probably one of the biggest. It was the biggest feel I've ever had in my entire life. I would say that is the biggest F in the
I can't imagine what you felt like in that moment with your PC crashing. Like, I've been there, never on that sort of stage.
Yeah,
and like
it's never happened since.
Just on
it only
like
happened then.
Oh my God, man!
Yeah, I've never had anything like it ever. It felt like something was aligning above to tell me like, this is not your time, buddy. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
That's what it felt like.
Well, you must have just been like the most stress ever in that situation. Like when it was off, like what the heck? Were you able to play while you're trying to reboot your computer, or were you just okay? Yeah.
I got on because basically it was whoever gets the most kills in the allotted time.
Yes.
So as soon as it crashed, the kills were tallied up, and then I rebooted it. I think I spent like 15 minutes total rebooting my PC over the course of like an hour or whatever. But I was able to just catch up to him and obviously overtake him throughout that. See if I had lost that dude because of that was what I was worried about. It wasn't even like the viewers, because I had like 30,000 plus viewers. Like that was insane. I've never even came close to that again. The most I got in COD Mobile Prime was like 15. But it wasn't even that. It was the fact that I was going to let down the entirety of the mobile community if I did not beat him. So that was on my mind. And Brian, who obviously works for Tribe, was like, where are you at? Where are you at? Like, bro, I need to win. Like I need to win this. Like, I'm trying to set it back up, but I need to win right now. So,
oh my God. So how do you feel in hindsight now? This was like 2.5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
In hindsight, so you won. And also, because I remember looking at like some of his comments, like from his point of view, his audience, and like everybody's like, what kind of name is Ferg? Who's this? Mobile sucks, whatever the hell,
Yeah,
and then I felt like a lot of people gained respect for not only you, but also mobile in general, I remember a lot of comments about like, wow, this is a lot smoother than I expected, or all these things, Do you feel like that pushed and elevated mobile FPS, just having that kind of like big...
I feel like it definitely created a different narrative about mobile. Like you said earlier about Mr. Beast with brands. I feel like for some reason, once that happened for me in particular, I had a lot more brands coming to me, and a lot of my friends seen a lot more like deals being flushed out where you would kind of just get paid to play mobile games.
Well, there you go, man. Right?
It was really like, it was a real, I've got a sponsorship. You got a sponsorship. Oh, okay. Like, let's do a game. Like, let's make a video together, kind of thing. Whereas before, it was really just like the top creators that would get the pickings. Nowadays, oh my God, we can't even talk about it because obviously contracts or whatever. But see the stuff that is happening nowadays with creators. If anyone is watching this to the end, it is by far the best time to become a mobile FPS creator. Just out of the security you can have with partnering up with these FPS titles.
There's no like, I hope I'm not going too far here, but there's no genre at all that's close in terms of if you're getting started. It might be one of the more difficult genres to actually make and like blow up from that vantage point, because it is pretty saturated. But at the same time, you don't have, to your point, you don't have to blow up to make it a career with the way that the opportunities that they're out there. With the opportunities. So, dude, there's a billion things I would love to continue talking to you about, but we were approaching the hour mark, and you've been super generous with your time, Ferg. I love the conversation. Any final words or
Me
thoughts
too.
before we let you go, bro?
Nothing much. Let's definitely do this again, maybe in like 6 months or so.
Absolutely, Ferg. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Ash. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care.